On behalf of InfiLeague, we have been bringing you interviews with industrialists, with achievers, and with entrepreneurs. Today in that series, we have with us Mr. BSN Raju. Welcome, sir.
Hi to all. Good day.
He is the whole-time director, Synergies Casting Limited. It is a private firm which is the largest and a leader in alloy wheel manufacturing. They started their production in 1998 and today they have a share capital of 950 million. The extraordinary needs no introduction is what their website says. It is so true. They are in OEM business and supply to major OEMs like Ford, Chrysler, Fiat, General Motors, Toyota, Tata, Mahindra, to name a few. They export mainly to the North America market and some to Mexico and Europe. Mr. Raju, I understand you started your career with a leading public sector company. What made you take this plunge from a secure regular income to a business where achieving the goal was unclear and a little ambiguous? How would you define your journey from 1997 to this day?
Well, it's a long story and an interesting one, and it's a tough one. Uh, uh, if you exactly remember, in the early 90s, there has been a huge trend in all the major car manufacturers globally to enter into the Indian market because there was a lot of increase in the demand in the Indian market, and big companies like the OEMs like Ford, GM, and Toyota, they were actually entering into the Indian market. They had actually set up plants in Bangalore, Chennai, Pune, and of course one plant in Baroda. And that was a major change and a major breakthrough in our Indian automotive industry. I would say that the year 1991 to 1998, you will see that there was a spurt of a lot of global OEMs entering into India. Now, at that point of time, India was not really fully geared up to actually accept such a huge challenge in terms of the technology and the manufacturing of the various things that actually going to occur. Now, in those years, most of the parts were being imported, and the cars were actually built by a CKD. That they were actually getting the assembly in a completely knocked down kits, and then they were assembling, and then they actually started. Now, at that time, we were a set of first generation entrepreneurs. I have three partners with me, so then four of us are all technocrats. We are all engineers, and we thought that this is the time when we can harness our skills and see if we can be useful to the automotive industry and see if we can add some value into it. And we were interested in doing something high-end engineering, high-tech engineering product. And one of the products that we identified was the wheels. Now, if you see the automotive sector or the car per se, there are a lot of components in the car. It could be the engine block, it could be the wheels, it could be the control panels, or it could be whatever. Now, wheel is one of the most demanding in terms of engineering, because if we were actually fascinated by the wheel because it requires both aesthetics and also the function. Unlike engine block is hidden inside the car, so it's more of a function and it's actually less of an aesthetics. And if you see the actually front panel, it's more of an aesthetics and not that much of a functional. But if you can see a wheel, it requires both aesthetics as well as the function part of it, and it also requires a lot of skills and then the technology which has to be inbuilt into it. At this point of time, we happen to be in touch with one of the leading wheel manufacturer in Korea. At that point of time, he was one of the top 6 wheel manufacturers, and we had a tie-up with him because we didn't have exactly how to make a wheel, that part of the technology was not available in India. So we were looking for a technical collaboration with a partner. And incidentally, we had actually tied up with a company called Dure Corporation, which is actually the single largest wheel company in South Korea. Now, having said that, now apart from the actual tie-up, we also when we had the demand which is available in India. We had a lot of OEMs which are here in India, and they were actually looking for someone who can make wheels in India. But until then, all the wheels are being imported either from Korea or from Japan or from China, whatever. Now, after we had a tie-up with them, we had when we didn't have the technology. I started the plant in the year 1996 when we had the tie-up with the Korean company, and we thought that we should do it in Vizag because the raw material for this was not available in India, at least of that quality. So we thought since we have to import the main aluminum alloy, and also we had to export wheels because most of the customers are in the US and Europe. So we thought that we had to select a good port, and then Vizag was one of the fastest moving ports at that point of time in India. So we had actually set up this plant in Vizag. And then the plant was commissioned in the year 1998. That was when the first wheel was out of the machine. And instantly, that was the first wheel ever made in India with an aluminum alloy. Now, after we have done that, we have faced our first major challenge. If you exactly remember, in the year 1997, 98 beginning, we had the Asian crisis. Now, in the Asian crisis, there was a huge devaluation of the won in Korea, and our partner went bust. He actually went bankrupt. So even before we could start our machines, we were actually held up with all the machines here. We had nobody from our partner to help us in this technology. This technology was new to us, new to India. We were making wheels by actually using a low pressure die casting technology. Low pressure die casting technology was new to India. Nobody was doing that. We had the machines here. We didn't have the technology. We didn't have any support. And all the manuals that we got from the machine were all in Korean. We didn't know how to read Korean, and we had a humongous task to actually build a plant and see how we can get the plant commissioned. Now, having said that, we had two options. Either we had to give up, or we had to see what best we can do. And obviously, we had actually chosen the option two. We thought, okay, fine, we will see how fast and what best we can do. We actually worked day and night. In about 6 months to a year, we could actually make the first wheel, and we rolled out the first wheel in the year 98 February. I think that was when we made the first wheel, and we were very, very happy that we could make wheels in India.
Oh, definitely, that was an achievement.
We failed to realize that was only the beginning of the race, because now after we made the wheels, we need to find a market for them. So we were actually literally taking these wheels with a small brochure and a small PPT a PowerPoint presentation. We were going around with all the OEMs, and nobody was even opening the doors for us. They said, you are new. I mean, you have got no experience. You are making a product first time in India. And so it was actually a very, very, challenging time to actually find a person who can buy our wheels. So we had to go to the US. And when we went to the US, we found that they are able to get wheels at half our cost of manufacturing. And there the wheels are full of all the wheels from China, and there's no way that we are going to compete. So we saw that after all this effort, we are not able to sell a single wheel. Then we were in almost a doldrums where we couldn't find a buyer for any of our wheels. Then we realized that we cannot compete with the Chinese because of the economic economy of scale. Those guys have got two big plants, billion wheels. So we were about 1/100th of the needs of the world, and there's no way that we can actually supply at that rate, at that quantity to any OEM. And if we are actually going to an OEM, they ask you only for two things: what is the cost and what are the numbers that you can do. And we can hardly do 500,000, and the cost was at least 2 times the cost of what they can get from China. That was the second biggest challenge. Then how did we overcome that challenge? We thought that we cannot make a wheel as a commodity. We have to make wheels only for the niche market. We have to make what all the others cannot do. So for example, if you actually try to compete with the Chinese guy, it's impossible because they are making in wheels when they are making the wheels in terms of millions, and obviously their operating cost is much lower, and we cannot compete with them. So then what did we do? We thought that we will go for a niche market. We will make the bigger size wheel for the premium cars, and we'll offer higher end cars, which means that we go for a 22-inch wheel or a 24-inch wheel with a chrome finish, with a dual painted wheels. These are the high-end wheels which are not made in China. Now, that's a big challenge because normally, even now, all the wheel companies in India, they do a wheel size up to 15, 16 or 17 or 18-inch wheel. And for every inch, it is exponentially more demanding in terms of the process. So we had to make a 22-inch wheel where we had the capability of hardly making a 14 or 15-inch wheel. And normally for every inch of a graduation in terms of the wheel sizes will actually take a year. So we thought that we cannot survive in this market unless we do the higher size wheels. So in a sense that we were asked to run when we actually barely knew how to walk. So within a year, we had to upgrade our skills, upgrade our equipment, upgrade our technology, upgrade our processes, so that we can make a 22 and a 24-inch wheel. Today, we are the only persons in India, and maybe among the top 3% of the wheel companies in the world, who can do a 24-inch wheel with the same in terms of the strength and capability of any other wheel. And at the same time, we'll be among the top 10 companies in the world who can make a wheel with a bigger size, with all finishes. We can give the end customer whatever he wants. What you see on the roads now, you only see wheels which are silver painted, but we do wheels which are chrome plated, which are gold plated, which are, when it's not gold plated, actually it is copper plated. We can give wheels with jewel colors. We can give wheels with multiple finishes. That's the niche market. There we have got our USP, and there is hardly any competition. And even now we are the leaders for most of the OEMs. And all our export wheels in the US are among the top car brands because they always use the premium car segment, and they always use the premium wheels. There we have no competition, and then we are able to survive. While we are doing this, then we had the third challenge, and the third challenge was during the 9/11, when there was a huge disaster in the US, and where we were actually held up with huge inventory, about 0.2 to 0.3 billion wheels in our inventory in the US warehouse, and they're not picking up wheels. So then we thought that we need to expand our customer base. Now we have a customer base in the US, we have a customer base in Europe, we have our customer base in India, and also a little bit of wheels we also do in the South American market. So that actually reduces the risk, so that even if there's an issue in one area of the geography, we can always have the other customers whom we can fall back upon, and then we can continue. These are the main challenges that we have faced over the last 20 years, and right now, I think at least in India, we will be the leader both in terms of the technology, in terms of the capability, in terms of the finishes of the wheel. You can go to any OEM in the country and they will know about Synergies. They know that we are the premium car guys who can make wheels.
Your journey has been really commendable, and you will become a motivation for a lot of us, because ours is also a new startup where I have fresh graduates working with me, and we are still struggling to get our base done. So it will be a real good, motivating your life has been really motivating for us. Okay, so for this, to achieve this kind of a success, what extra bit that you did? I mean, what was that extra bit apart from the technological changes that you made? What was it that your partners and you did together, or what was that grit and dedication that you had? What kind of it was that? Working 24/7, how was it?
Yeah. The most important thing is in any business, you need to have a business and a process which can be sustainable. Okay. When I say it has to be sustainable, in the sense that it's a very changing market. You know, what is good now is not going to be good enough for tomorrow. Uh, you can see it in the cars that we use today, and you actually have a comparison with the cars maybe 5 years back or 10 years back or maybe 20 years back. You hardly have any cars who have a breakdowns on the road. Even in a tire puncture, how often do you hear of a case where you have a flat tire? You know, that is the improvement in terms of the technology that you have in all the auto sectors. So what we have is our main USP is our engineering skills and how we can change to the needs of the customer. That has been our strength, and we have got very robust process that every single wheel that we make, we ensure that it meets all the requirements of the customer. Our top most objective has been in terms of the quality, and then comes the cost and the other process. So we had always emphasized on improving the quality. We are a QS 9000 company. We have been approved by almost all the OEMs today that if you have a wheel from our company, they don't do any audit, because we are a full service supplier, which means that we have a process which is very, very capable, which does not need an audit, because it's all very, very capable. And they know that once you have a process which is very, very capable, if the input is good, the output has to be good, because the process is absolutely stable. That's what we have been concentrating on. And the other area is, being in India, you have a very, very big advantage, because India is very good in IT. India has got excellent soft skills, and we have got very good. We have, of course, partners in this. Of course, we don't do all the FEA and all the other things in-house, but we also offer it to a lot of other companies, and we can adapt to the change very, very quickly. In terms of when the OEM is going to launch a vehicle, they have to actually start the process of the entire process of development 2 years ahead. If you have to launch a car in the year 2022, it has to be processed now. So we interact with the OEMs. We do the process of the styling, the FEA, and the development. And our turnaround time is one of the fastest in the world. We can actually beat even the Chinese in this. For us to make a wheel from start to scratch, right from the styling to the modeling to the prototyping, to the development, to the testing, and the validation, will take about 6 to 8 months, which itself is a very, very fast turnaround time, which we can offer to our customers. That has been our main USP, and I think that's the main reason why all our OEMs are still with us.
Okay. So, the new generation is also looking at startups, and they want to do a lot of things in the industry. Some of them are really innovative. So how you think they should go about it? Where can they get good investors who can help them? Or what should they do to get that kind of investment to build up their industry? Because all of them may not have the kind of money that is required to build an industry.
I think the first thing is it is not the money that they should look at. They should be clear on what they have to do and how they have to do it. Now, I'll answer the first question first on what they have to do. Now, what they have to do has to be customer driven. Now, for example, today, if you take the automotive sector, what is customer driven? Safety, performance, and I think reliability. Now, in terms of a safety, I'm extremely happy that there are a lot of OEM companies in India who have got 5-star rating for the crash test. A very high priority has been addressed as far as the safety is concerned. You should make a product which is safe, which is reliable, and high in performance. Uh, and at the end of the day, it has to be sustainable. It has to be sustainable both in terms of cost, in terms of time, and in terms of the manufacturability. This is going to be driven by the customer. You need to understand what he wants in terms of all the three parameters, because what you perceive and what is actually needed is could be far from the actual reality of the customer. So you need to define a product which meet all the standards of the safety, reliability, and the performance as far as the customer is concerned. That's going to define your objective. What is the product that you want to make? Once you know what is the product that you're going to make, you need to understand how you're going to make it. Now, how you're going to make it is going to be technologically driven. And when I say technologically driven, it has to be technology. It has to be technologically driven design as well as manufacturing. This is what is the main strength you have in the young engineers you have in India. For example, if you talk of technologically driven design, gone are the days where you actually make a prototype and then you see how it's going to function, and then you're going to design what are the failure modes and then how to improve it. Now, all those days are gone. Now you can actually do a design on your computer. You've got excellent soft skills. You have got excellent softwares where the young engineers who have got innovative ideas can actually help in making a product using these skills and actually doing a testing, which will have almost more than 90% convergence in the actual product. So you know that this product can fail or pass under certain conditions even before you make the prototype. And then further to that, you can actually do it very, very fast. Now, we have a lot of young engineers who have actually come in from the engineering colleges, who do our FEA here. They do the modeling here. They do the entire analysis. Say, for example, if you are taking the wheel, they actually model the wheel. They actually do the styling of the wheel. They actually simulate the entire conditions of the wheel going on the road in terms of the speeds, in terms of the cornering fatigues, in terms of the impacts that it will undergo. Everything can be actually simulated on a computer. They will be able to tell you exactly what is the optimum size of the wheel, what is the optimum weight of the wheel, which can be made, and what is the design to optimize on the performance of the wheel. Now, at the end of the day, what you need to do is you can always make a wheel which is, 10 or 20, 20 to 30% higher weight. But the idea is here how you can meet the design optimally. Because to give you a benchmark, 10% less weight of a car can improve the fuel efficiency by almost 18 to 19%. So you need to do a design which can meet all the requirements, as I said earlier, in terms of the safety, in terms of the reliability and performance, at a much lower weight and at a much lower cost of manufacturing. These are the things which can be done in India, where we have a lot of skill sets from all the young engineers who are actually coming out from the engineering colleges. We have an engineering department. The average age group of these people, they are hardly 25 to 26 or 28 years. That's it. And they do an excellent job in the design. They're able to evaluate and actually tell you what should be the model of the wheel which can work on this particular car application. Because as far as the technologically driven design is concerned. Now, that's only 50%. Now, the other 50% is in your technologically driven manufacturing. This is where we are actually looking at people who have got a background in optimizing the material, in optimizing the processes, in optimizing the manufacturing techniques. So we are looking at somebody who actually improve on the materials. Until about 5 or maybe 8 years back, people were using cast iron as for engine blocks and things like that. Now it's all gone to aluminum. Future could be of composites, I'm not sure. then there are a lot of new metals which are coming, which can make the wheel of the car much lighter to improve the performance of the vehicle. And at the same time, we should follow what the Japanese has been doing. They are not so great in engineering, but what they are really great at is, if you make one product, they will make a million product of exactly the same parameters. Can we do that? Okay, that is very important, because that's where it's going to define your process and your process capability. Now, we should be able to design a product for optimizing it. We should be able to also design a product which can be made consistently day in and day out with the same process, with the same variability reduction. There should not be any variation, because automotive is a very high and safety critical product. So you should ensure that the process that you're going to design has very low variations, and you're able to have a process capability of 1.66 or above, which means that you will not have failure even in 1 in a million. That is what are the actual skill set that we actually look at people who can add value to the company.
Okay. Okay. So other than these technical know-hows and their qualifications, what other things that you look for in your new recruits, or what are the other skill sets that you're looking for in them?
Yeah, all that I said is only 50%. All that I said is only 50%. The other 50% is going to be on their how innovative and creative they are. Okay, that actually we have a test that we are going to conduct for all the people that are actually coming into our company. We want to test how fast they can adapt, how much of a creativity, that they can add to our product. We always look at young blood, fresh blood, who can actually bring in new ideas. That's going to be very important, because all the rest can be learned. You can learn the software, you can learn the designing, you can learn the manufacturing, but the ideas have to come from you. You have to be innovative, you have to be creative. Always keep in mind what is the end product. You have a customer whom you need to satisfy in terms of safety, reliability, performance at a sustainable cost and time. If you can keep that in mind, and then if you're going to come up with innovative ideas, I think there's no limit to that.
Since you're such a big company, have you ever faced that any startup coming to you for investment purposes or coming up with their ideas? Have you been?
Yeah. There were a couple of startups. They had come up with a lot of ideas. I can quote a few. There was a startup company who actually wanted to build electric vehicles. So they were making batteries for the electric vehicles, and there was another company who actually wanted to make autonomous vehicles, not ATVs, but autonomous vehicles.
Yeah.
So these are two things. In fact, we are still interacting with them. But at the end of the day, when you do a business, you need to know that it has to be sustainable. Apart from adding value, it has to add value to the country and the community, and it also needs to add value to yourself, right? When you want to be able to run a business, if you are not able to generate some sort of revenue, actually make it. It has to be sustainable both to the customer and to yourself. So we are now doing it. I think in the next 2 or 3 months, we will be rolling out some AGVs where we are going to make it in our factory, and it's in a prototype stage right now. But I'm sure it can be used in any process. It can be used in any of the process industries, either for movement of metal, or it can be movement of parts, or movement of anything. These are the new things that we are actually developing. But at the end of the day, if you have to be a startup, you should ensure that, number 2, you need to have the demand. Number 2, you need to have a sustainability. If you can have these two, then I'm sure you can get any investor to buy in your product.
Okay, right.
And when I talk of sustainability, it should be both in terms of revenue, in terms of the process, in terms of the product.
Okay. So it's a constant process of innovation that has to be there for any industry to survive.
Yeah, absolutely. Because what is good now is not good enough for tomorrow, and especially in your field, the field of automotive, you just can't relax and say that, "Oh, fine, I have already achieved this," and you just can't sit back and say that it's done. Because even before you can do that, there's going to be a Chinese guy knocking the door with a new product which is much more efficient. So you need to always keep on innovating and seeing what else can be done much better.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Raju, for taking out time from your busy schedule. We really thank you. Very grateful to you.
No, it's my pleasure. If you have anything else, please let me know. You can also send me a mail or whatever. I can answer.
Right.
And then, in fact, the government of India encourages a lot of young engineers like yourselves, like your team, and they actually give them easy funding and soft funding. They want to encourage people who can actually come up with some sort of good ideas or a breakthrough ideas, because we guys in this industry, we have got our eyes focused only in one area. We are not open to a lot of other things which the young people can actually think of, and the ideas that we get from our people are amazing. I got an idea from a girl who was just past 10 on how you can have a GPS onto your wheel, and the idea was so simple. And when this is what we lack in the industry. We always come and have an 8-hour job and we only focus on our thing, but there are a lot of other more ideas which are actually coming up in the colleges or that's where we need to tap on.
Right. Thank you so much, Mr. Raju. Thank you so much.
Yes, Anika, thank you very much.